He didn't dwell much on his father's death anymore. It had been 4 years since it happened, and Mike had moved on since then. But he still thought about him from time to time, and he said he had never met anyone more honest or more clever or more dependable. He smiled as he talked about what a good horse trader Billy was, and how he loved animals, and how he had bought him every piece of sports equipment that had ever been invented. When he had trouble with his baseball swing, he knew that Billy would have been able to fix it in a second, standing with him, showing him where to place his hand, jiggering his stance just a tad here and a tad there, doing all the things only a dad could do to make a swing level again and keep a baseball flying forever. And Mike also knew how much Billy Winchell would have cherished seeing him on this September night, dressed in the immaculate black and white of the Permian Panthers, moments away from playing out the dream that had kept him in Odessa. The two-a-days in the August heat were over now. The watermelon feed had come and gone, and so had the preseason scrimmage. Now came the Friday night lights. Now it was showtime and the first game of the season. Most everyone thought that Billy Winchell had given up by himself by the time he died, but they also knew that if there was anything making him hold on, it was Mike. Billy and Mike. He would have liked to have lived for Mike's sake, said Julia Winchell. He sure would have been proud of him. Some of you haven't played before, been in the spotlight, said assistant coach Tam Hollingshead in those waning hours before Permian would take the field against El Paso Austin. He knew what the jitters of the season opener could do, how the most talented kid could come unglued in the sea of all those lights and those thousands of fans. He offered some succinct advice. Have some fun, hustle your ass, and stick the hell out of 'em. It's not a party we're going to, it's a business trip, Mike Ballou told the running backs. If you get hurt, that's fine, you're hurt. But if you get a lick and you're going to lay there and whine about it, you don't belong on the field anyway. The team left the field house and made its way to the stadium in a caravan of yellow school buses. They went through their pregame warm-ups with methodical, meticulous determination. Then they went to the dressing room and sat in silence before Gaines called the team to huddle around him. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. Everyone knew what was at stake, that if all went without a hitch, this game would be the beginning of a glorious stretch that would not end until the afternoon of December 17th with a state championship trophy. It would be a 16-game season, longer than that of any college team in America, and as long as most of the pro team seasons. 3.5 months of pure devotion to football where nothing else mattered, nothing else made a difference. That 1988 season is 4.5 minutes away, Gaines said quietly with a little smile still on his lips. Let's have a great one. At the very sight of the team at the edge of the stadium, hundreds of elementary school kids started squealing in delight. They wore imitation cheerleading costumes and sweatshirts that said Permian Panthers #1. They began yelling the war cry of Mojo, Mojo, Mojo in frantic unison, rocking their arms back and forth. A little girl in glasses put her hand to her mouth as if she had seen something incredible, and it made her momentarily speechless between screams. As the black wave of the Permian players moved out into the middle of the field, 8,000 other souls who had filled the home side rose to give a standing ovation. This moment, and not January 1st, was New Year's Day. Brian Johnson opened the season with a 15-yard run off the right side through a gaping hole to the Permian 47, lurching forward for every possible extra inch. 2 quick passes from Winchell to split end Lloyd Hill gave Permian a first down at the El Paso Austin 10. Winchell looked good, setting up with poise in the pocket, throwing nicely, no rushed throws skittering off the hand. Then, Don Billingsley, the starting tailback for the Permian Panthers, got the ball on a pitch. He was a senior, and it was his debut as a starter. The roars of the crowd got louder and louder as Don took the ball and headed for the goal line. A touchdown on the first drive of the season seemed destined, to the delight of thousands who were there, and no one wanted it more, no one felt it more than Charlie Billingsley. It was his son Don down there on the field with the ball, but it was more than the natural swell of parental pride that stirred inside him. 20 years earlier, Charlie Billingsley himself had worn the black and white of Permian, not as some two-bit supporter, but as a star, a legend. He still had powerful memories of those days, and as he sat in the stands on this balmy and beautiful night where the last wisps of clouds ran across the sky like a residue of ash from a once brilliant fire, it seemed impossible not to look down on the field and see his own reflection.